Vallabh Bansali, Chairman of Inam Securities, also joins us. Mr. Bansali, good morning, and certainly a delight and pleasure to have you back on ET Now. Mr. Bansali, let me first start with the obvious and the big story. Mr. Raghuram Rajan will be the new Governor of Reserve Bank of India. So as the new Governor of Reserve Bank of India, what dimension do you think he will bring about to India's monetary policy now going forward?
I think we should heartily welcome Mr. Rajan to RBI. Mr. Rajan brings 2 or 3 unique qualities. I think he has been a global authority on economics and particularly financial economics. Secondly, he is very young. Thirdly, throughout his career, he has shown boldness, confidence and conviction about his thoughts and views, which are based on deep study. I think RBI and the country need somebody like him who will bring a fresh approach. And I really hope one thing which has really gone wrong is credibility and confidence. Economy is about confidence. I hope that he is able to restore confidence to some extent.
Mr. Bansali, so what do you think Mr. Raghuram Rajan can fix and avoid the crisis? I mean, that his predecessor, which is Mr. Subba Rao, has not managed to do so till now.
See, whole point is that crisis did not build in one day, nor will confidence build up in one day. But you have to start moving in that direction by being consistent, by being practical. I think to the extent that we saw some flip-flop on policy, or we saw a certain amount of doggedness on policy, that's what created a big confusion. One also hopes that, nobody knows the reality, but the perceived gap between RBI and the government also, is spanned to some extent with Dr. Rajan's arrival there.
Right, Mr. Bansali, there is no quick fix to get growth back and control CAD. How soon do you think he will be able to turn things around?
I think people who are realists, they face realism by transparency. So I think if I have met him many years ago, and I've heard him extensively, I've read his books. So I think he's somebody who will speak his mind, who will create a bond and rapport with the markets, saying that, well, this is how things are, this is how our policy will work. And it makes a big difference because as a financial markets person, I can tell you the amount of future that we discount every day is not funny. And the moment we have confidence about the future or its direction, we start doing differently. So I think Dr. Rajan understands that, and this is what he will bring to bear.
Do you think, Mr. Bansali, that the country needs a hawkish or a dovish government right now?
I think we need a practical governor. I think someone who is committed to one or the other would be a disaster, and he hasn't shown any of that.
Mr. Bansali, one side growth has plummeted. On the other hand, rupee also has broken down. Do you think Mr. Rajan will have to make a cruel choice between growth and stabilizing rupee, because he's got 3 challenges? A, to maintain inflation, B, to stabilize rupee, and C, to accelerate growth?
I think the policy announcements and initial efforts that we saw in the last quarter of last year, that is 2012, definitely gave us hope. And then we had a budget where we saw that the finance minister was able to present a curtailed fiscal deficit. I think that 5-6 month period definitely created hopes. But the inability of the government to convert that policy intent into policy action, and on top of it, to let loose things like food security, I think that's what has created this utter lack of confidence on all fronts.
In the last 15 days, though, the currency has fallen despite external pressure. We have moved independently of emerging market currencies. What explains this kind of deep crash that the currency has been witnessing?
I think the rupee is floated to a certain extent, and our current predicament is well known, that we have a current account deficit, we are energy deficient and very dependent on imports, and that a certain amount of liabilities are up for maturity in the short period. I think rupee will settle. I don't think that rupee is there for free fall. The government is making a sincere effort, and I do not believe that rupee is in a free fall.
You made a point that valuations are looking attractive. Would you specify more on that, and when do you think things will really turn around?
No, I think clearly all those worries are there, and maybe rupee is sensitive to that fear that there may be a rating downgrade. Clearly people know that. And therefore one is to wait and see that, it's high time that we get some lucky breaks. We've got a lot of unlucky breaks.
Mr. Bansali, so millions of investors, they look up to you for advice. Do you think at the current juncture Indian stocks are attractively priced and it is time now to buy equity as an asset class, or equity as an asset class will not yield superior return in the short term?
I think investors should look at valuations most of all, rather than, worry about and try and understand what is basically ununderstandable. It is very, very complex today. But valuations of well-managed companies with great track records, I think, are always the most important thing to look at. And, if you have wise people running those companies, they understand all these challenges better than an average investor, and have some faith in them. But that can apply only to those people who are used to equity investing. Those who those who are new to equity, they would rather keep out.
Finally, Mr. Bansali, what do you make of the polarized nature of the market? Only 8 to 10 stocks are holding up, rest of the market is at a multi-year low. Do you think now it is time to give these popular sectors like consumers, pharma and IT a skip, and it is time now to really revisit the broken down part of the market, because that end of the market now is trading at attractive levels?
I'm never a good person to talk on sector and stock selection, Nikunj, as you know. But I would say that, one has to know the companies and the managements well to be able to buy in times like this instead of making sectoral bets.
Mr. Bansali, an absolute pleasure to have you back on ET Now, and thank you for joining us.